Okay, and we are live. How's it going, everybody? My name is Todd Anderson, editor at avnirvana.com, and welcome to another episode of AV Nirvana Live. And before we get to our featured guest tonight, just have a couple things I want to talk to you guys about. We have some new reviews up on our website, speakers by Mitchell Acoustics and our friends over at SVS. So please head over to the website and check those out. And of course, Michael Scott has been churning out many Blu-ray reviews for your reading pleasure. So head on over to avnirvana.com to check those out too. And we have some new Bass Hunters episodes coming. I promise you, Violent Night should be going live tomorrow, and then Halloween Ends, the dreaded subwoofer killer Halloween Ends, is going to be making a debut, I believe, by this weekend. And in terms of that show, just today, I confirmed we have some pretty exciting news in that department. Ascendo is going to be joining as a partner, and they are actually shipping one of their 32-inch infrasonic subwoofers to my home, and that's going to get integrated with my quad array of subs, and we are going to have some serious juice digging all the way down to 7 hertz. So that's going to bring the Bass Hunters episodes to life in a really interesting way. So there's a lot going on with that. But tonight, we're not talking about sound. We're talking about vision. And we have Chris Deutsch and Rob Budde from JVC. They are joining us to talk about JVC's new firmware 2.0 revision that was released right around CEDIA time. Just maybe after it went live, maybe just after CEDIA near the end of last year. This is a really big deal. It's totally improved the performance of their current DLA projector lineup. So they're going to hop in here and tell us a little bit about what's new with the firmware and give us advice on the best settings that you can use in your projector to get the best picture possible. So with that said, let me bring them on. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Hi, Todd.
Pretty good, Todd. How are you today?
Good.
Great. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I know it's probably been a long day for you guys, and we're just going to make it just a teeny bit longer.
That's all good.
That's mine.
So we had, it was a fairly large announcement for you guys going into CEDIA this year. There weren't any new projector models per se, but you had this huge firmware drop.
Yes, we did.
So, I mean, I know there was a lot of anticipation about some fixes and corrections being made to the old firmware. Not that it was performing poorly, but people had kind of a punch list of wants that they were looking for some improvement in. And it looks like you guys, and at least from my perspective of using it on my NZ8 here at my home, it seems like these projectors are performing extraordinarily well.
Thank you. Yeah, and you're right. It's a combination of listening to what our customers had given us in the way of feedback, as well as our own ideas, and we're now kind of establishing a bit of a track record for doing this. We've got folks that bought these projectors as far back as December, and then you're right. At CEDIA, we announced this, and then Rob, what did ship? It was second week in November that we actually launched.
Yeah, the mid-November we released the firmware to the public. So, but we're really excited about it. So
so sure. You might have had a 1-year-old projector, and all of a sudden we just made it better. And for the folks that were on the fence, hopefully we gave them just the right nudge to make them want to get one of these.
Yeah, exactly. And Rob, I was just telling Chris while we were waiting for you in the back room there that, when I met you at CEDIA and then went in and saw the NZ9 in action, that sealed the deal for me. I went home and ordered a NZ8 for myself and upgraded from the NX7. And it is an appreciable upgrade, in my opinion. It's just a really fantastic projector.
No, thank you. I mean, we're seeing a lot of customers looking to upgrade. Even I had a customer who had like an NZ7 and he went straight to an NZ9. He was just so happy with the picture quality and he wanted the extra contrast. So
yeah, for sure. And I know we're going to get to those projector models in a second, but Chris, you were kind enough to pull together a couple slides here for us. Help us run through some of this information. And this first one here kind of runs down, I think, the major bullet points of what the new firmware is injecting into your current projector lineup.
Yeah, and so let's shall we start there?
Yeah.
One of the things we're best known for, I'm going to say there's two things we're best known for. We're known for our DLA imaging chips, the best black level, the best contrast. We're also known for our dynamic tone mapping solution, Frame Adapt HDR. We can measure the video either on a scene by scene or frame by frame basis. I like frame by frame. And then we can adjust that picture on the fly for the optimum 4K HDR, high dynamic range image all the time with no customer intervention at all. And so we improved that, and we'll get into a little more detail, and we put together some screenshots to kind of show you. We improved it so that it can be brighter and so it can be more flexible. We also got some feedback on our dynamic dimming. As the slide says, this is on our laser models only. So we have a new dynamic dimming mode, which has gotten some very good reviews so far. We added the filmmaker mode. We are always trying to add new screen codes to our database. So things like, the latest screen materials from all the big brands, we have a 3-digit code. And if you're not going to do a full calibration, you can enter that number in, and it's going to give you the most correct performance with that screen material. Of course, if you are doing a calibration, then you don't want to use those screen codes. And there's some other minor little operational tweaks as well. So, and I see someone here just bought an NZ7, and yes, you definitely should put in that new firmware. And I also see my friend Kellen is online. So Kellen, thanks for hanging out tonight.
That's right.
Let's go to the next slide.
I do have one question for you real quick on the screen codes. How are those developed? Is somebody testing a projector with screen and taking measurements, or are you guesstimating based on qualities that are provided by the manufacturer?
I'm going to let Rob answer that, because Rob's one of the guys that's involved in that process.
One thing we do with all the screen codes is we talk to all the screen manufacturers and we get samples, and then we scan those samples for the right color shift, because the color shift is going to be completely different between a Stewart Studio Tech 130 versus like a SI Black Diamond screen. So we measure all those, and then from that we can correlate what the color shift is going to be in the projector to get back to D65. So
so there is some real science behind the numbers there.
Yes.
Very cool. So so Chris, you just said next slide, and here you can see, I have to say, your award-winning projector lineup. I was up in New York City with you guys. Were there for the Value Electronics projector long throw shootout, and you guys cleaned up every category with the projectors we're seeing right here.
That was a good event for us.
Yes, it was.
We were happy.
That was a fun event.
Well, the reason we put up this chart was just so everyone can get a sense of what the 4 models are that this firmware update applies to. So we have, I'll go through it, and also it gives me a chance to plug a promotion that we're doing. So we start out with our, we have the DLA-NP5, also known as the DLA RS1100, and that is our entry-level lamp-based model. And that model is on sale through the end of March. You can save $1,000. So that's been selling for $69.99.95 through the end of March. It's $59.99.95. That's a fantastic price for that dynamic tone mapping that we talked about, the DLA imaging chips that we talked about. This is, again, our lamp-based model. That's how we save a little bit of money. It's 1900 lumens, which is plenty of brightness for most applications. I'm going to say up to 150, 160 inch screen, very comfortable with that. It is an all glass lens, and it's got the new HDMI chipset, so HDMI 2.1. That means it supports 4K at 120 frames per second.
Right.
The contrast on this is 40,000 to 1 native. That's those DLA imaging chips. And it does have a dynamic iris that'll take that to 400,000 to 1. You get about 93% DCI color coverage, and it has a 10 position lens memory, or what we call installation modes. So very full featured projector. Rob, anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, this is a great entry level projector, and it does really, for the money and the value, it's a fascinating picture. It does awesome job at it. So
yeah, everything you like about JVC at a fantastic price. So if you're going, yeah, but I want a laser, which is a big thing these days, that would be the DLA-NZ7, also known as the DLA-RS2100. That is selling for $10,999.95, and we're a little bit back ordered on that, but we're doing our absolute best to increase production and get those in stock and in good supply. So please bear with us. Basically, it's everything that I've talked about, but again, it's laser. There's a bump to 2200 lumens. This is where we bring in our 8K eShift display technology, so it can display 8K. And so the HDMI 2.1 supports both 4K at 120 frames per second for your games, and 8K at 60 frames per second, which is mostly a future-proof feature at this point. But,
Sure.
The Xbox that I have right on the outside of that box, Microsoft has a statement about it being 8K ready. So there you go. We substitute a dynamic laser dimming system instead of the dynamic iris. And so this is infinite dynamic contrast. And then again, everything else is the same as the DLA-NP5 and the RS1100.
Okay.
Then moving along, our second sale price projector is the DLA-NZ8, also known as the DLA-RS3100. And so this is, again, $1,000 off through the end of March. So regular price is $15,999.95, and this is on sale for $14,999.95. Phenomenal value. This bumps to 2,500 lumens. It has what we call our HC optics. So, people think about optics, they think about the lens. The reality is the lens is the part of the optics that you see because it's right there on the front. But behind the lens, the prisms, the mirrors, the filters that we use are completely redesigned on this model for higher in-frame contrast and better brightness. And so that's part of how we get to 2,500 lumens. And we go from a two-way 8K eShift on the 2100. So the 2100, to make the 8K image, it flashes the screen twice for each frame of video. The 3100 flashes it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. How do you like how I did that? For a 4-way flash to get the full 35 million pixels in that 8K signal onto the screen. This is our dual aperture light engine. So 80,000 to 1 native contrast, again, infinite dynamic. And we have a cinema filter you can flip on, which bumps the DCI color coverage up to 100% of DCI. Rob, anything you want to add, Rob, or Todd, anything you want to add, since this is the one that you have?
I just want to note that it operates much more quiet than the NZ7. And I can't say the same about the NZ7 because I haven't experienced it in my home theater room, but that's something about it that I really like a lot, that you can get high light output without really hearing it, without hearing the fan.
Well, I mean, that's one thing with the laser. It runs a whole lot cooler than a lamp-based model. And so, we don't need to kick up the fans as much to keep the unit cool. So
same with shutdown and power up.
Yeah, way faster. Yeah.
Way faster. And it's, it's one of those things. It's a convenience that's just something that once you get it into your house, it's just really nice to experience.
Well, and another improvement is, the lamp models, including the NP5 and the RS1100, they have a low and a high setting for the lamp. So it's either the quiet but less bright, or the best brightness but a little noisier. And the laser models have 3 steps: low, medium, and high.
Right.
And from my personal experience, and I don't know if you guys would agree, I find in a lot of cases you can use the mid setting and get a nice boost in brightness, but still the noise level is really, really low.
Yeah, that's what I have mine on, is the mid setting, and yeah, no complaints about brightness.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it also gives you a lower black floor, so you're going to get a much lower off state in the image as you drop the laser power. So
there you go. So let's talk about our top of the line model, DLA-NZ9 and DLA-RS4100. This is priced at $25,999.95. Again, apologies on the availability. We're getting a little better here. The availability is probably the best it's been since the product's been introduced, but we do still have a back order on this model. So again, we're working to improve that with our factory. What people like about this model is it's our big gun in terms of brightness and optics. It's our 3000 lumen DLA projector. It's got the same high contrast optics, but it's now matched with a larger 100 millimeter diameter all glass lens. So this is a step up in sharpness. It's a step up in the lens shift range. It gives you a little bit, just a slightly subtle, but a little bit different throw ratio that lets you hit a bigger screen from a slightly shorter distance. If you're going to use, we talked about that lens memory. If you want to use the lens memory, the mechanism, as good as the lens memory is on the other models, it's 4 times more accurate on this particular model because of that premium lens design. And also another small step up in contrast to 100,000 to 1 native, and everything else that we've already talked about. All of these models, I should also mention, there's 3 years parts and labor on the warranty with the first year advanced exchange. So during the first 12 months, if there's a problem, of course, we're going to try and troubleshoot it with you. But if we can't, we're going to make arrangements to send you a replacement unit in advance. And then you can send the, the problem projector back to JVC, and we also send you a return shipping label, so there's no cost there. So we truly support these products at a very high level.
Yeah, that's great. And you're not mentioning the 25th anniversary edition, which is an NZ9 on steroids, I guess you could say. That I happen to know is starting to ship. A good friend of mine just got his calibration report from Chris Nearing. I actually put that out on Twitter. So if anybody wants to see that at AV Wolfer, you can see the report. That thing calibrated to, I mean, the Delta E is down to basically nothing. It's pretty incredible. So I know about 25 people out in the world are going to be really happy in the coming weeks.
25 people in North America. There's still maybe a couple that are not spoken for. I'm not sure. But you're right. It's basically an NZ9 or an RS4100 with a special 25th anniversary cosmetic. It's got hand-selected chips and optical devices that bring that native contrast up to 150,000 to 1. And it also comes with a couple of nice little bonus items. It's got a plaque, that you can put up on your wall that tells, how 1 of 25, 2 of 25, what you got. There's an actual DLA imaging chip on the plaque. And there's an authorization form because we want to check out and make sure that people are, speccing it into the right theater. And on that authorization form, there's also a spot for your jacket size. So we will send you a special commemorative 25th anniversary jacket. Rob, did I miss anything there?
No, I think you got it all in it.
Oh, and of course, what Todd alluded
Chris
to,
Deering.
calibration. Yeah, we're including calibration from Chris Deering. So every one of these goes to Chris first. He works his magic, and then from there it goes out to the customer.
Fantastic. And we are going to have an unboxing video of one of these beauties, hopefully within the next week on our YouTube channel. So for everyone out there watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe so you'll get a notification when that video goes live.
Cool. So let's show a couple of slides that go through the firmware update. And the first one we're gonna talk about is we have a feature called HDR Quantizer, and basically the way this works is this looks at the movie that you're playing, and then based on most movies have metadata, and in particular we're talking about max FALL and max CLL. So we're talking about the peak brightness in the entire, the brightest pixel in the entire program, and also the highest average frame brightness. Max CLL is the peak brightness, and then max FALL, frame average light level, that's the brightest average frame. So if that metadata is there, then we can choose from one of 5 ranges to kind of have as a starting point for our dynamic tone mapping. And it just ensures that, I mean, if every Hollywood movie was mastered to a standard of brightness, say 1,000 nits, we wouldn't need any of this. But we've got movies, I've seen movies as low as 181 nits for Blade Runner 2049. I think there's several others that are in the low 200s, all the way up to well over 9,000 nits, 9,919 nits for Mad Max Fury Road. The most recent Men in Black is not too far from that. So obviously the right picture settings for a 9,000 nit title are very different from the right picture settings for a 181 nit title. And so this HDR Quantizer helps us put everything in the right range. If there is no metadata, then we also say, well, default to this in the middle setting, okay? Which we usually do a pretty good job. People are always asking, well, I shouldn't say always, a lot of folks are saying, hey, you know what, I love what you're doing with HDR, but I wish it was a little brighter.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. If you look closely here, there's now auto normal. So if you like the way it's been working, that's auto normal. Don't change it. No need to change it. If you're happy with the picture, leave it the way it is. Okay. But if you're one of those folks that goes, yeah, I wish I had a little more brightness, auto wide is your solution. So it's going to it's programmed to change those levels, differently, more aggressively. And also, if there is, as an example, if there is no metadata on auto normal, it defaults to -1. And of course, Rob, please correct me if I don't have this right, but on auto wide, I believe it defaults to +1. So it's a 2-step increase to make sure that you have the little bit extra brightness.
Yeah, and definitely for the more ambient light in the room, the auto wide is going to give you that little more pop in the picture. So, if you're not watching a dedicated theater, it really does shine and give you that little more brightness that you would need. So,
Rob, if you're in a dedicated theater that's blackout, light controlled, do you suggest leaving it on wide or normal?
I would probably personally, I would still keep it on wide. It covers about 95% of the HDR levels that you come across. Step when you get above 4,000 to 10,000 nits, then you might want to put it in normal. But for most viewing, I think wide does a great job. So
yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. And so otherwise, you've still left in user controls there below both of those modes. So
yes, you can manually play around with this to your heart's content. But the whole point is, for most folks, don't want to be fiddling with the controls, and so just the whole idea of just press play and it's going to look great.
Right.
For most folks, that's what they want. And that's, I think, the design philosophy behind this.
Okay.
So let's look at the next slide. And we've got some new picture modes. And here you see, originally we had one frame adapt HDR, which is fantastic. Okay. Works really good. But what if there's times you want to watch with the lights on? Whereas other times you're watching full on theater mode. So you're watching the Olympics or football, and it is in HDR, but you want lights on in the room. You're watching football and you don't want to knock over the guacamole. Okay. So you might use Frame Adapt 2 and set it up for a brighter, higher ambient light viewing environment. Whereas when you're just in normal movie theater mode, lights are out, we're sitting down watching a movie, that could be Frame Adapt HDR 1. So maybe one of them has it set to auto normal and the other one has it set to auto wide. Maybe one is mid laser, the other is high laser, and you still got a third one. And also here you see you have the option of filmmaker mode. And the idea behind filmmaker mode is to follow the director's intent, minimize processing. And also it's kind of cool in that with certain devices like the Kaleidoscope or certain Blu-ray players, there's a flag. And so it'll automatically kick into filmmaker mode if you wanted to. You can also turn that off. So those are the new picture quality modes.
Right.
Rob?
And I've noticed that with my Kaleidoscope system, it kicks into filmmaker mode. Do you guys suggest leaving it in filmmaker mode?
I don't think there's anything wrong with filmmaker mode. I've looked at the comparison between frame adapt and filmmaker mode, and once the unit is calibrated, they're pretty relatively the same as far as the picture quality that you're going to get out of those. But it's basically kind of setting the features so the way that the director wanted you to see them. So it turns off all the, I want to say, motion control and stuff like that.
Sure.
So it makes it, and most of the time I turn all that stuff off when I'm viewing an image. I don't use that. So,
right. For those folks out there, Rob, that do not have their projector professionally calibrated, will they see a noticeable difference in that case if they're running filmmaker versus frame adapt?
I don't think they'll see a noticeable difference, but for the customer who has a really eye for it, they'll probably see the difference. But for most customers, both images or both modes will look really good. So
okay.
And now dynamic dimming. Yeah. So originally we had 2 dynamic dimming modes, and this is kind of repeating a theme here. If you've got a JVC projector and you love the way mode 1 works or you love the way mode 2 works, keep it that way. There's nothing you need to change. Those work based on average brightness. As a result, the way the dimming takes the average of the frame into account when it decides how much it's going to dim the picture. Some people were complaining, though, that they wanted a different approach to maintain more of the highlights. And so mode 3 works based on peak brightness. So the brightest part of that picture. So it's going to do a better job of maintaining the highlights. The example that I like to use is beginning of Blade Runner 2049, where you just got little lines of text going across the screen. And in mode 1 or 2, the text will be a little dimmer, particularly when there's only one line. And then on the second line, it gets a little brighter. On the third line, it gets a little brighter, and so on. With mode 3, even just with that first line, it's nice and bright, but you still have very good black level. And the other benefit of mode 3 is it's a mode that allows full fade to black. So when it cuts out, it cuts out completely, and the laser is it's shut off, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah, it's completely shut off. So when you go to fade to black, it's gone. You'll have no light coming out of the projector whatsoever.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that's a pretty cool way to do it. It's a very dramatic. it gives you exactly what I think the director wanted you to see.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because their intention is for your iris to kind of close down when you go to black, and then for the next scene to be pretty bright, typically. And so they want you to see all that and kind of, blow your iris out a little for like an explosion or something like that. But they want you to get that effect. So
the laser can attenuate itself that quickly?
Yes.
Yes, it can.
I was going to say, you don't just see it; you literally feel it. You can feel that reaction in your eyes.
Yeah, but Mode 3 works really, really well, and the black level detail is kept quite good. So I'm very impressed with the Mode 3. It does a really nice job.
That's what I've been running mine on, and I haven't felt the need to change. It's kind of sounding like you guys would suggest that most customers keep it in Mode 3.
I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I've run in Mode 3. I haven't noticed any pumping or anything like that, and the black floor is quite good. So,
Awesome. And next up, we have auto picture mode.
And this isn't really anything new with firmware 2.0, but it's a key reason why the JVC works the way it does and why firmware 2.0 is so valuable. And so this is on the second tab in the menu, and just want to kind of show this because it's a very cool feature, and it's something that is kind of unique to JVC. So you go down to automatic picture mode select, which is the fourth item down on this page of the menu. And then you'll see these presets. And actually, I guess there is one change for firmware 2.0. Originally, out of the box, he's just said last setting, last setting, last setting, last setting, and you had to program it. And JVC USA made the request to the factory, hey, you know what? For 99% of the customers, we know how you want to program this. So can we just do it from the factory? And so for firmware 2.0, they did that. And SDR 2D now comes preset for natural. Of course, you can change it, which is what the third image here shows. If you want to create your own calibration, or if you prefer the cinema or the film preset, it's a very easy thing for you to do.
Okay.
SDR 3D, if you're using our 3D glasses and 3D emitter, then user 1 is probably what you want to do, because you may not need the high laser for regular SDR, but you probably want it for 3D. You may also use a slightly higher color temperature, again, to get a little more brightness. You may also turn on some of the additional motion enhancements. Some people don't like them for normal movies, but they do like them for 3D. So you can set all that up in user 1. Then HDR10, you're going to set to the frame adapt HDR mode, probably frame adapt HDR1.
Okay.
And let me also explain how this works. Let's say you set up a frame adapt HDR for full light control.
Okay.
And also a different frame adapt HDR for high ambient light. Figure out the one you think you're going to use the most, and that's the one you set up on this auto picture mode select. You can always change it to the other one. You know, if most of your viewing is lights out, then that becomes your default. But anytime you do want to watch with the lights on, you can now switch to frame adapt HDR2, knowing that next time you use the projector, it's still going to default to whatever is set up in this menu. And then lastly, we also support hybrid log gamma. That's not used all that much in the US, but it is another broadcast HDR standard. I think it's more common in Europe. Rob?
Yeah, I mean, it's more common in Europe. There's very few broadcasts that are using HLG in the US. I haven't come across really too many. So,
and again, there you can either pick HLG or one of the user presets if you want to put in your own calibration there. So this is kind of foundational just to how JVC becomes so easy to operate. Once you set this up, the idea is that it's virtually never are you going to have to fiddle with the picture modes. You're just going to pick whatever you want to watch, on your Blu-ray player or your Kaleidoscope or your streaming box, and you're going to know that the JVC is going to set itself up correctly.
Great. And I note there that you have natural selected. Rob, natural is the mode that's probably closest to a calibrated state out of cinema and film. Is that correct?
Correct. It's going to be calibrated for Rec 709 D65 color,
Okay.
2.2 gamma. So most of your broadcast stuff, HD, will be in that format. So that will give you the best overall picture for an SDR image. So.
Okay. Okay. Do you guys find that a lot of consumers are still using 3D?
Not a lot. Very few.
I mean,
there's an option. I mean, we still get influx of people asking us for 3D, but it's not a lot. But there are a few people that still do it. So,
but the people that do like it are passionate.
Yes, they're very passionate about it. So.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they don't want to see it go away for sure.
Yeah. I mean, one thing also to add, I don't think this menu's on here, but is the information menu. And so that information menu will give you flag information from the source. So it'll tell you what's coming into your projector, whether you're getting HDR flag, the metadata, all that. So if you look at that information page, it'll tell you what's coming into the projector. So if you have an HDR flag and you're still in the SDR mode, then something's not switched correctly. And maybe you have to go to one of your auto mode selections and maybe fix that. So just keep an eye out for that when you're viewing. So
does that information contain anything about what the content is mastered at?
Yeah, so it gives you the max CL and FAL. So
okay.
So
yeah, something cool for folks out there.
Filmmaker mode, HDR, 10 plus, so.
I have one question. Anybody out there that's watching right now, if you have a question, please feel free to ask. This would be the time to do it. But I have one question for you guys. Is there any chance that we will see a Wi-Fi dongle added to the back to give some functionality to the projector through maybe app control or something along those lines?
I don't think there'll be anything particularly soon. If we do it, it would be in the next series or models that we would come out with. So, but not as a feature upgrade that I know of. So,
keep in mind, we have the network connection. Well, we have network, we have RST32. So,
right,
you can do a wireless bridge if that's how you want. If that's what you need to do to get into your network.
Okay.
Yeah. Just the fact that we have that jack there means you do have access to a lot of control options. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, do you guys have anything else you'd like to add in on any tips or anything like that you'd like to share?
No, I mean, the firmware update is a big change, and doing it, you're going to get a lot more performance out of this projector. And even older customers who bought one maybe a year ago, doing this upgrade is well worth doing. So, take the time. It takes about 50 minutes or so to do the update over a USB stick, but it's worth the time. And you can go to jvc.com to download that. So,
sure. I'll drop some links once this posts live on YouTube. I'll drop some links down below.
Okay.
I would also add maybe I can take 60 seconds and just give people an overview of how the firmware update goes, if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah.
So you're going to go to jvc.com. You're going to go to the support page. You're going to download the zip file. You want to have I always say your oldest, smallest flash drive, because it doesn't need to be big. And the projector does have to index the flash drive. And a smaller capacity flash drive will simply index faster. So have a blank flash drive, formatted flat. Why did I say flat? Formatted FAT32. Make sure there's nothing else on it. When you unzip the downloaded file, you're going to see a folder UD_B5A1. B2A1 was the last generation. B5A1 is this one.
Okay.
So take that folder, UD_B5A1, copy that onto the flash drive. That's the only thing you should see. Put it in the USB port. Go to your menu on the menu that does all your functional things. You're going to see toward the bottom. You're going to see software update. You're going to click on that. As Rob said, it's about 50 minutes. It's actually going to tell you. It's going to say this is the current firmware that you're on. This is the firmware you want to go to, and it's going to calculate the exact time: 52 minutes, 54 minutes, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then you say okay. And the next thing you're going to see is the projector is going to shut off. And don't worry about it. You should start to see little lights blinking across. There's 3 lights that are going to blink in sequence on the front panel of the projector. And at the beginning, they're going to go very slowly. And then as the update progresses, they're going to go faster, and they're going to go faster. And at the end, they're going to go really fast. And then again, the whole thing's going to just shut off. No lights, no nothing. You're going to go, oh, wow, I bricked the projector. Don't worry.
Right.
You didn't. You're going to tap the power button. You may have to tap it 4, 5, 6 times, and the projector's going to wake up. It's going to boot up, and you're going to be good to go. You can go into that info screen that Rob mentioned, and you can look on that's the far right tab, and you'll see the new firmware version, and you'll see all these cool new features.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's one of those updates that can be a little tough because we're so used to having so much information thrown at us through a screen. But I like the fact that those lights give an indication of what's happening. Mm-hmm. Because there can be a few moments where you're like, is it done? Is it not done? But because it is a long process, as you point out.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. Looks like we have a question here about the possibility of in the future, I guess this would be future models using a different kind of cooling device to help reduce fan noise. Let's see. SRW1000 says detecting with air jets. Are you guys familiar with that?
I am not. So I'll have to look into that, see what it consists of. So they're using it for mostly PC-based systems that are like
looks like it, yeah.
Server type thing. So might be something that we could use. So
yeah. Awesome. Well, gentlemen, we originally said 20 minutes and we're at 40. That always happens. It's like my wife says, whenever I have a project around my house, I'm like, yeah, it'll take me like 2 hours. Multiply that by 3. That's really how long it's going to take. But
that's like going to Home Depot once. So, so.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. This was really great. When I reached out to you guys were immediately like, yes, let's do this. And I really appreciate it. And I know a lot of people tuned in tonight to watch this, and a lot more are going to watch this in the coming weeks and months, and a lot of great information there. So thanks for taking the time to swing by, drop in with us, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yes.
No, we appreciate it, and thanks for everything. And if customers have any questions, make sure they get a hold of us. So
awesome.
You'll probably have a link or something on your website.
Yeah. I'll drop some information down in the description on the YouTube video, and people can also always track me down, and I can get a hold of you guys if need be. But awesome. Well, thanks a lot, guys.
No, thank you. Thanks for having us.
I will drop you guys off the feed real quick, and hope you guys have a great night.
Thanks.
All right.
You too.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, that's all we've got for you tonight. Please make sure you stop by avnirvana.com. If you have a JVC projector, you'd like to share some information about it, we do have a few threads going on there talking about these current projectors. And if you'd like to watch a video of my breakdown of the Value Electronics long throw shootout from just a few months ago, I'll also drop a link to that down in the description. You can give that a watch. There's lots of information there. I go through all the different categories of projectors, the models that were there on site, and just my impressions of how they performed. And also we have the judges scoring for you to watch. So that's definitely something you'll want to check out. But aside from that, I want to thank you all for hanging out with us tonight here on AV Nirvana Live, and look forward to seeing you guys on the forum. Have a great evening. If you enjoy content like this, hit like, subscribe, and then join the conversation on avnirvana.com.